going to Bonds for a while?
I'd say so. It's pretty much the temple where my body worships.
What do you like about Bonds?
I don't know. I mean, people say the breakfast, obviously the breakfast, so that goes without saying, but I don't know. I mean, it could be like the myriad of fucking Sharpie marks everywhere, the fact that I can like hide in a corner and drink a coffee and read, and like especially over like this last like winter when it was like fucking cold everywhere, and we're Canadian, so we have to do things indoors, and I could just chill here, like waterboard myself to wakefulness or the will to venture out into the cold again with some fucking coffee. Excuse to get some reading done.
Yeah, nice. Do you do a lot of people watching while you're here?
Oh yeah, I mean you can't help it, right? I mean it's like you see fucking everybody here.
What kind of people come to Bonds?
Sad, pitiful creatures like myself, and you wonder, what did Groucho Marx say? Like, I don't want to be in any club that has me as a member. And you're like, who else eats here? Who else dwells? No, it's I've been like, yeah, you meet a lot of people here. Ivanhoe, who works here, really good friend of mine. I mean, it's also like it's right across the street from Trout Lake, so I call it like the Bonds Trout Lake circuit, where you just like fucking engorge yourself on carbs, and you just walk it off as you like go to Trout Lake, where everyone's like fucking walking their dog, and you see all these dumb, happy little dogs like playing with each other. And there's Spartacus Books on the other side of Trout Lake, and it's like my other favorite place in probably this corner of the universe, apart from Bonds. And it's like a little bookstore.
Yeah.
Also, like they have coffee there as well. So fuck, yeah.
You're all caffeinated up.
Oh, sweet Christ.
What are you reading now?
I was reading something else, but I left it on the bus. So I picked this up at like one of the free little libraries,
Okay.
which like there are a couple around here, which are fucking bomb. Like, it's not something like it's the fact that everyone wants to like just like share their books, which is like the best thing in the world. But the second best thing in the world is like you realize what people read, and it's like, what the fuck, like. I mean, one time it was like 2 a.m. Me and my friends were like on the drive, and we went like off to a side like block because it's quieter, and we go through like we see My Little Library, or whatever the fuck they're called, My Little Pony, My Little Library, and there was like 47 one of those like paperback pulp romance novels you find at London Drugs on the aisles, and it's like pregnant by midday or something. It's like her loins were quivering with anticipation, and it's like, what the fuck? And yeah, reading them out loud is really fun.
Would you rather I asked you about that book or the one you were just reading?
This one got a little real a second ago. It's Notes from the Underground, Dostoevsky. It's always like on the list of like fucking literature is basically all the books you're supposed to read but no one reads, right? And I'm found an excuse to finally read it, and he was going on about, oh man, I wish I could read out. I fucking forgot where he was, but he was like, I should have saved it, but it was fucking like awful. It's like, oh, like we men of modernity like to think like there's progress and we believe in reason and rationale and things we do make sense, not like days of ye old. And it's like, well, what happened after modernity? Like a whole lot of genocide. It's like, oh, like things are better because we're more self-aware about it. It's like, does that help? And like, even if we think we're self-aware about like our actions, are we really? Like, do we have a real grasp on it? And it doesn't even matter, because even when we think we do, like, we just fucking love doing shitty things with those ideas. Anyway, so I mean, he doesn't really necessarily. Yeah, I mean, he says it much better than I do, but I didn't fucking know this, right? Like, because like Dostoevsky, like, giant of Russian literature, like, oh, so this is a biography in the beginning. The son of a former army surgeon whose drunken brutality led his own serfs to murder him by pouring vodka down his throat until he strangled. That's his dad. And he saw that. It's like, what the fuck? Like, I'd be fucking like writing sad ass literature too. Come to think of it, this Easter just passed by. A friend of mine corralled me to this Ukrainian Catholic church, and so they're basically like Eastern Orthodox, but they're part of like they recognize the Pope as their leader, and they do all like the old Byzantine rites like in Greek, and this service was in English, but it's in Richmond, so it's in this old Ukrainian neighborhood. There's like a Ukrainian hall, there's a Ukrainian church, and a Ukrainian retirement village, but because it's in Richmond, everyone there's Chinese. And so, I mean, that alone was weird, like where you have this old, like, the Byzantine services are kind of similar to the Catholic ones, except they're like way more specific and like 10 times fucking longer. I was like standing all fucking night, 7 hours. I sat down. I mean, I was into it, but I'm not that into it. I'm like, no wonder the fucking 19th century like Russian nihilists were so fucking pissed. If like they took away my knees, like I'd be lobbing bombs too. But like the whole thing, like part of like any endeavor that's so serious, like it's gotta be like there's gotta be some kind of like really like I don't want to say fucked up, but really like there's a myth that like requires those stakes. And like the priest the entire time, well, first of all, he was teaching everybody what to do. Like you have to raise the canopy. They're doing too high, too low. But everyone there is like didn't grow up. Like no one there was Ukrainian, so they didn't really grow up the rites. Like this, it's like this entire like ballet production, which happens once a year, and it's like super sad. And he was like, we're not here commemorating the death of Christ. Like sacramentally, we are in the tomb with him. And like you have this icon where like you kiss the wounds of Christ. I didn't know what to do, so I just made out with Christ. I mean, I've always wanted to kiss Jesus. And it was like a little, you could taste the universal veneration. Like Jesus was wet anyway, but yeah, I mean, you could see why they were really sad and they were really fucked up. And yeah, maybe the people who like compile our lists of required literature are just really sad people too, and they need. That's the thing with like this kind of stuff. Like, do we live better like now that we have the words to describe our misery? But I don't know.
Yeah, it sounds like it was written at least a couple hundred years ago. It sounds like people are still saying those things today, and it's still a bit of an ignorant kind of thought. To think that we've come so far. How do you see it? Have we come far?
Yeah. I was just like I was just listening to this industrial guy called Terrafact, and I just like read about him last night, so I downloaded it. I'm going through this like phase where I don't give a shit. Like every time I have this glitch where I have to refresh my music library every time I download new music. So for the longest time it never happened. And this week I'm free. I just like told myself I don't give a fuck. I need to start listening to like new stuff. I asked some friends. They give me this guy who like apparently like he came up with this like he recorded sounds of 9/11 right after 9/11, and then he made this industrial like power noise album. And like I love it because it's just like, you know, like heavy. You don't need like hyper polished wanker post editing to give you the cleanest like fucking notes in your ear, when you can just have like beats that like hit your nematoid, like that lizard part of your brain. But I was on the bus and it was like really constraining, and I realized you can only read sad literature and sad music, well, at least for me, out when it's like fucking sunny today, like out in the open, where you don't have to literally feel like a creature in the dark. No. I mean, they have great food here. You guys should like. Do you guys ever order on menu?
Never.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Every time you see someone order off the menu, actually order, like going. But there have been tales like if you read the outside menu, they have steak and lobster. I have never seen anyone order steak and lobster, but come like my birthday, I think I'm gonna chance it. I'm gonna fucking like roll the dice.
Good choice. I trust the steak maybe more than the lobster.
I keep thinking like they're gonna ask me, so do you want that sunny side up or over easy? And you're like, what? Let's go back to the breakfast.
So how about you? Do you write or make music or any?
I'm a thoroughly well-trained child of the 21st century, so I just consume what I love. I mean, I remember growing up in school. There's like wind band, right? Or like marching band. I played the flute, which is like literally the worst instrument. Like, oh man, yeah. So, and you think you have a grasp of like creativity, and you grow up and you see it expressed in so many different ways, and you enjoy them in different ways. Yeah, but maybe, who knows? I don't know. There's a lot of stuff out there, not all of it good. So it doesn't need me to pollute the waters of what is already there.
But there's other ways to express yourself, like fashion. That's a really sweet shirt, jacket combo. I think that would be serious.
My friends dress me. I just haven't given it back yet. So.
What do you do for work?
I part of the Vancouver Barista Industrial Complex. Yeah, I make the stuff. But I always come for Bonds for coffee. Always like brewed coffee, dude.
Yeah.
I just mainline the stuff.
Look into your veins. Are you passionate about coffee?
In a very functional kind of way. I mean, I remember like we're on the West Coast, and there was like this foodie phase and a coffee phase, and you drink the stuff, and it's bad. It's just bad. Like, it's always way too, like, there's a couple downtown, right? There's coffee bars where it takes 5 minutes to fucking, like, that's like my favorite part. He wants some breakfast too. You should get in on this. Anyway.
Are you talking about the coffee?
Yeah, dude, it's fucking, I don't know, they have these pour overs, right, where they have cones, but then they use like these metal cones because they're reusable. They want to be environmentally like eco-friendly, or they don't want to throw away like a fuck ton of coffee filters for like the fuck ton of people they serve. But they have these like mini holes, and like all the coffee is so fucking acidic. It's like, it's battery acid, but you pay for the privilege of watching people make battery acid and then drink it. And I just like my brewed coffee. It's the good stuff.
No worries, go ahead.
You're so
Poor little dog's
rude.
Yeah, I think that's well said. The battery acid. Thanks a lot for taking the time and letting us.
Yeah, man.
You don't mind if we use it? Happy with you? Yeah.